Hi there again, little berries. This is Airy Berry here. Now, the audio is working. Is it not working? Yes, it's working. Lovely to see you all again. Now, I haven't done a writing video for quite some time, and I thought it was about time I did. And I was chatting to somebody at work about this recently, about what is more important to you. Is it commercial success, like financial? Is that your goal? Or to have ownership of your own intellectual property? So which is it? And it could apply to writing, it could apply to anything that you create yourself. I wanted to be a writer since I was like 5 or 6, and I was writing stories even from that age. And at one point my mum said to me, you could get that published. She was talking about a story I wrote which was partly based on A Christmas Carol. And I said, what do you mean by that? And she said, oh, have it turned into a book. And something in me went, ding, I want that. I wrote so many stories throughout my life, but nothing that I was happy to see through to the end. Partly because I hadn't actually come up with the end. I would have this wonderful idea, but then realise, hang on, it's a nice idea, but there's not really much of a storyline. And so The Shape of the Path, my first novel, that was the first story that I really wanted to see through to the end, and I was willing to battle all the way through it to the end. I spent 10 years writing that bastard, and I still haven't finished the second novel yet, which is a kind of a non-sequel to Shape of the Path. I dreamed of being a published author and, being interviewed and asked about my art and my work and everything. But then I saw certain things and read certain things that made me kind of think otherwise. I realised that publishers and even agents are looking for marketable products, just like any other product. Just like, if you see on Dragon's Den or whatever, you have to go in and pitch a good product that will sell, hopefully itself, or marketed well, with some little tweaks here and there, will sell. People want their stuff out there. And the world of business, even though it shouldn't be, it should be about customer service, but the world of business is about money. That's really what it is, financial success. Being someone who's so passionate about their work, to me, it wasn't the money that I wanted, and it's still not the money that I want to complete my novels. That's the main thing. That in itself is like climbing bloody Mount Everest 10 times. But getting it out there and have people say to me, I like your work, that's enough for me. I haven't sold enough of copies of my novel to even get any royalties. You have to get on Amazon at least 100 in whatever currency it is, the country from which they're downloading it. So of course in Europe it would be the euro, UK would be the pound. I don't really care about sales. I care that people like my work. And even if people don't like my work, they can tell me what they don't like and I can work on that. If you are looking to have your manuscript published and you want to go through a traditional publisher, you need an agent before you get published, but you also need to get published before you get an agent, which is a bit strange. But either way, there are ways of getting around that. And the publisher takes the majority of the cut of your work. Most writers, especially when they first start out, only get between 8 and 10% per sale. So if your book sells for like $7.99 in pounds, you only get 79p at most per book. What about the rest of it? Well, of course, VAT is one thing. Another thing is that the everyone involved in the process of actually producing the physical book has to be paid. So of course the resources, the trees where the paper comes from, or the recycling mills, the print press, marketing, your agent takes a cut, the editor as well, distributors. Everyone takes a cut. But you, the writer, the one who came up with all of this, you get that much. Money aside, it's almost as if it's like taking credit. Credit is where credit's due. It's the book that people love. They say don't judge it by its cover. It's in a physical format. So of course, now we have ebooks. That sorted itself out, but still there's marketing and there's, data and formatting and all of that. What about intellectual property? Is it actually your work anymore if you've been appointed an editor who has told you not only what to write, how to write it, what your novel can and cannot say, what changes you should and shouldn't make? Is it really your work anymore? Or have you just tweaked your product to something that A, the publishers and the agents and the editors would like, and B, what the public wants? A little bit like Agatha Christie, she's one of my idols. She wanted to move on from Hercule Poirot, but her publishers were just constantly saying Poirot, Poirot, Poirot. That's all they wanted because Poirot is so popular. If anyone's ever watched the original series of The L Word, I mean Generation Q is on at the moment, but in the original series, when Jenny Schechter first writes her book, she's appointed an editor who says that she has to change pretty much the whole thing because she wrote it seemingly from the point of view of somebody who has not come over her strives in life. She hasn't overcome her obstacles. She seems to still be quite weak and still victimized. She says to Jenny, I want to know how you thrived, not just how you survived. But Jenny had already come at it a position where she couldn't write it any other way. And that's kind of how I felt about my work. I thought, hang on, this is my art. I came up with this. I know the characters because they're in here. They're not out there. They're not yours. This is my work. And yes, I will welcome grammatical corrections and also consistency. I will welcome feedback. Whether or not I take it on board is another thing. But this is my work. If your mind cooks up something and you put it out there, whether it's a book or a piece of art or you've built a building, and it's exactly how you want. Other people say, change that, otherwise I'm not doing anything with it. You'd feel quite defeatist, wouldn't you? But in addition, when you sign the contract with the publisher, depending on the terms of your contract, they technically own your work. Or at least the vast majority. It's their product, not yours. You sign over your work. You're recognised as the author, the creator of the work, but it's not yours anymore. In a way, you've sold it. They can market that however they want. They can make it that your editor can tell you to change anything that they want. And if you refuse, the chances are that you're either going to be in a position where you're either going to have this big battle going on until one of you caves, or you're going to be at odds with your publisher and editor, and you may well lose your contract if you don't do what the publishing company wants. Your agent might drop you. That's what I didn't like. And I did try to get some agents, not publishers, but agents, and they weren't interested. Not in my book anyway. So I thought, well, do you know what? Fair enough. I'd rather stay in creative control of my work. I'm going to self-publish. And I think I put it on Facebook, actually, just amongst my friends. And one of my friends, herself, she and her then wife, they had a company together of doing many different things, and they were looking into the publishing industry. And they said to me, we can do this for you. And I was their first subject. And I hadn't even got halfway through my novel at this point. I needed a huge push to complete it. And she edited it for me. Now, when I say edited, she didn't tell me what I should and shouldn't do. She just gave me little comments here and there. One thing that she really, really showed me I was doing wrong was I was head hopping in my book, and she showed me how to, and I was doing it unconsciously without realizing it. She said it was insinuating that it wasn't in the character's head, not in the character's head. So I had to change that. And she gave me some suggestions, but I didn't have to go along with everything that she said. Now, editing is very important for those kind of reasons. You need to make sure it's consistent, otherwise people get confused. You need to make sure that the characters stay in character, unless there's a point to why they break character. it's good to have an editor to give that view, because somebody else looking at what you've done sometimes can pick out a flaw that you haven't seen. But at the point that they say, I want the story to turn here and I want it to, this to be the outcome because I don't like that outcome. And that's, telling you what to write, telling you what your art should be. It's forcing your imagination to change. And that isn't healthy to me. I'm not saying that all publishers do this, but they can do this. Once you sign it over, it's theirs. And if they say to you, right, that chapter just doesn't seem plausible to me, so I'd like you to write it from this angle. If you are willing to sacrifice at least part of your intellectual property for marketing and commercial reasons and success and money and all of that, fair enough. I actually say there's nothing wrong with that. That if that's what you want to do, I'm not criticizing. But on the flip side, you need to think about, what is your real reason behind all of this? My real reason for writing is because I love it. Nothing makes me happier, nothing in the whole world. But at the same time, it's like sparring with the Minotaur. It can sometimes be quite grueling, but ultimately, whenever I come up on top when I'm sparring in a fight, the feeling of completion and I've done it completely overwhelms any kind of hardship I've ever had of getting there. I've often likened it as well to scaling a wall with no equipment, just with my bare hands. It's painful. Getting over the wall and running, getting that rush of endorphins when I'm really on a roll and I'm typing away is like nothing else in the world. And everyone has that one thing that fills them up with such joy that they could do it forever, and they're really good at it. Whether it's writing, art, particular sports, psychology, bricklaying, gardening, office work, anything at all, anything, you name it, singing, acting. Take something you love and try and make a career from it, because then, Judge Judy said this herself, because then it won't feel like work. It's always, though, easier said than done, because raising funds is hard. When are you going to do it? You need to bring in the money, so you need to speculate to accumulate. It's hard to make your hobby into a career, but it's not undoable. I don't intend on becoming a millionaire from writing. I don't intend on making any money even from YouTube. But I'd love to be able to do it full time. So if I can make a living from it, great. Because I work full time now and having the time to do everything is a bit difficult. But that's not my aim. What would really make me happy is just producing some sort of masterpiece that I personally can be proud of. But also, if people say to me, it's good and it's good enough to be studied, like in university or somewhere like that. If I don't mind if people want to rip my novel apart and even if they poke holes in it, I don't mind that at all. I'd consider that a form of flattery. I don't mind if someone wants to adapt it into a play or a film or a TV series, and if they completely change so many things of it, that doesn't bother me. I am possessive of my art, definitely, but not to the point that I won't let someone go off and do their own thing with it. But what I will not have is someone tell me how to write, because that's my gig. I haven't had any training. I write because I love it. I have learnt so much, though, from my editor. She's been amazing. She's honestly been absolutely fantastic. And I also learnt a huge amount doing fan fiction. I read so many fan fictions. I wrote my own fan fiction, and I then got a beta reader who actually at the time was doing English as an A-level, and she showed me where I was going wrong on certain things like tenses and verbs and adverbs and all that. And I also started to beta read for other people, and I was able to really sort of perfect what I was doing. If I didn't quite know how something should be, I would Google it, or I would look at certain tips, and I'd get other writers certain tips, and I would listen to feedback to my own fan fiction. Do you know, I read it back now sometimes. I just have a look at it and I can't read a lot of it because I think I actually wrote that shit. To me, it's just shit now. I don't regret it at all. It was a huge learning curve for me. And I was able then to go back into writing my novel, from which I'd had a break, so that I could go into it with a lot more experience. And experience it's invaluable, really, really is. So what is more important to you? Ask yourself that question. Commercial success or intellectual property? It's entirely up to you. If you want to go for commercial success, I wish you all the best. If it's intellectual property, I wish you all the best. But bear in mind, if you want to retain creative control over your art, it's unlikely, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's unlikely that you will be able to be in a position where you can definitely do it full time with money coming in, unless you've got other means of income or support. And that's another reason why publishers give advances. An advance helps you financially. Like they can pay you, I don't know, say 50 grand for a 2 novel deal or something, or a 1 novel deal. And that 50 grand will be enough for you to maybe pay off some of your mortgage, or you can keep it in the bank and just let it roll over time, and that will probably keep you going for a couple of years. Of your novel have come to the point where you've paid off the advance, then you start earning royalties. Sometimes you can just earn straight royalties. Sometimes that's in a contract, but more often it's an advance. Or sometimes they just pay you a lump sum and that's all you're going to get. And it's usually more than an advance. But then what if it becomes big like Harry Potter, and you won't get any more royalties from your book sales? You might, out of like merch and selling rights to your books and interviews and all that kind of stuff. But it depends on what works for you. For me, I would just prefer to earn straight royalties, because it's more like being paid. It's like a wage. Like you do your work and people buy it and you get paid. For the rest of my life, I'm going to be self-publishing. Even if I'm given a huge amount of an advance from a publisher, I'm not going to sell my work. I won't. I don't mind selling the rights for TV and everything, like I've said. That's a completely different medium. But I'm not going to sign my work away. And I'm going to continue to produce my work the way I want to do it. That's just me. If you want to do it a different way, go for it. Really, really wish you all the success in the world. There's nothing wrong at all with wanting to make some money. Nothing wrong at all. As long as you do it legitimately, of course, and legally. There's nothing wrong at all with wanting to produce a product for the sake of revenue. So please let me know, on which side do you come down? Do you come down on the thing of, I want to retain my work and that's it, I don't care if I make nothing, or I want this to go far and I want to be a millionaire, or are you kind of in the middle, kind of swinging this way, that way? Let me know. And I'll see you soon, little berries. Bye bye.